You have to learn to complete the stress cycle for your health and well-being. But we're going to tell you how. Hi guys, welcome to our channel. I'm Yasmin and this is Nadia, and on this channel we create videos about healing, inner work, overcoming stress and burnout, and finding a life of joy, balance and abundance. We'd love you to subscribe and join the all-round abundance family. So today we're going to be talking about stress, how it impacts us, how to deal with it and break that stress cycle so the negative effects don't stay with us longer than they need to. So the first thing I want to mention is that not all stress is bad. Some stress is actually good for us. Some everyday stress can be useful. It can give us bursts of energy, increase brain power, help us, motivate us to get things completed. It can also teach you how to deal with more stressful future situations. However, when it's continuous and you experience it for long periods of time, day in and day out, it can have really negative impacts on our brains, our lives and our bodies. So like Yasmin said, stress is something that we can handle. However, it's chronic stress, which is stress experienced over a longer period of time, say months or years, is what's harmful to our body. And chronic stress can be caused by work pressures, family pressures or other emotional pressures. And when you experience stress, so say you've got angry at a family member or a colleague at work, or you've got some sort of financial stress going on, what happens is your body goes through something called a stress response. So the body releases a load of hormones, one of which is cortisol, which causes your blood pressure to increase, your heart rate to increase. And also what happens is your muscles tense, you breathe faster, and your other organs also get deprioritized because your body is using all this energy to do all these other things to have the stress response. Your digestive system and other organs that aren't necessary in that moment get deprioritized. So this is what makes it really clear to understand why people who have prolonged stress experience digestive and gut issues. And it's also clear to understand from this why people who have prolonged stress also have more risk of heart conditions, because they always have an increased blood pressure. So one of the things we actually both experienced when we were going through a very stressful time is we both experienced food intolerances and eczema. And once we had dealt with the emotional effects of the stress, our eczema went away and we were able to reintroduce those foods without any effects. Yeah, so it does. It has so many effects. Stress, you know, it can cause anxiety, depression, mood swings. It can make just your general quality of life so much less, you know, happy and abundant, because you're too focused on dealing with the stress and you can't focus on other areas of your life. So it is something that we really need to deal with. So today we're going to be sharing with you the ways to minimize your stress, and more importantly as well is to complete the stress cycle. So when your body goes through that stress response, it then needs to enter a stage where it goes back into balance and relaxation, which a lot of us actually skip, and that's what causes harm to our body. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how you can actually force yourself to go through and complete that stress cycle, which is going to be really helpful in minimizing the damage to your body. So we're not saying as well that you won't ever experience stress, because, you know, that is a part of life. However, what we're saying is that we can, through these tips that we're going to give you, minimize the effects and harm on our body and our life. So our first tip is to deal with stresses in advance as much as possible. So there are two types of stresses you could be experiencing: internal stresses or external stresses. External stresses are things like a job loss, a stressful work environment, you know, being interrupted by colleagues all the time, having constant emails come up and calls coming through. Whereas internal stresses are more to do with things that happen internally, so they occur within us. It can be things like perfectionism, unrealistic expectations, you know, negative self-talk, being inflexible, all or nothing thinking and other rigid ways of thinking, and also things like an excessive caffeine consumption or lack of sleep. So the first thing to do to deal with and manage stress is to identify its source. Where is it coming from? Is it caused by an internal stressor or an external stressor? For example, many of us may say we're stressed because of work or a particular situation, but we don't take the time to determine the exact trigger. For example, if it's your job that's stressing you out, what is it about your job? What is it that happens in your day or in your working day that triggers that stress response? Is it being interrupted by colleagues or having emails pop up? We need to identify the exact trigger. Only when you identify the exact stressor can you then find a solution for it, or prepare in advance of being triggered, or find a way to avoid it or get rid of it completely. Also, by identifying your stressor, you can be more prepared for stressful events and make better decisions, because once you're triggered into that stress response and your body releases that cortisol, your thinking becomes clouded, so you don't act in the best way. But if you identify your trigger in advance and plan how you would respond or what decisions you would make if you were triggered in the stressful event or situation, then you can take the action you plan to take rather than taking a different action in the moment, which is based on clouded thinking and is not so logical. Now, when it comes to internal stressors such as perfectionism and all or nothing thinking and the ones I mentioned previously, these you can deal with in advance so you can prevent yourself from being triggered into stress response. Take the time now to work through your perfectionism and other internal stressors so you're not triggered into stress unnecessarily. You know, there's many ways to do this, and if you're interested in doing that now, we have several videos on how to deal with these issues, which we'll link below. So we have one on perfectionism, how to deal with negative self-talk, and also ones on the different rigid ways of thinking that can cause stress. So we'll link them below so you can check them out. So the next tip is to change your mindset and your meaning about stress. So whilst you want to try and avoid the accumulation of stress, and you want to just avoid stress where you can, we will be faced with stress in our day-to-day life. It is a part of our life. We're going to face it every now and then. So when that does happen, it's important to have an empowering meaning that you give that stress instead of a draining one. There's been a lot of research done on the meaning that we give stress and the effects it has on our health. So many studies have shown that those who believe that stress is bad for them have far greater negative consequences than those people who don't believe that stress is bad for them. So maybe they see stress as a state of readiness to take on a challenge. So what we mean by this is turn the negative stress into a positive stress. And for example, instead of seeing a stress or something that stresses you out as something that's just causing you stress and it's causing harm to your body, and you know it's causing harm to your body, see it more as like a challenge to overcome and something that's going to strengthen you and give you more skills and more experience. Also, if you're someone who is accumulating stress and you're experiencing a lot of stress, instead of seeing that as, you know, my body's being damaged and I'm causing harm to my body, maybe see it as a warning sign to slow down. Maybe thank the stress and be like, okay, this is something, my body is trying to show me that I need to slow down. I'm putting too much pressure on myself, too much pressure on my body. So I need to take this, learn from that stress and see what I can change about my life to make my life a better one, a better quality life. What can I do here to manage this stress and become less stressed and happier? Ultimately, it's all about the meaning that you're giving to your stress. So if you're saying, you know, this stress is causing harm to me, you're basically handing over your power to that stress. You're saying, you know, this is damaging me, and you're just sort of surrendering to that stress. Whereas if you say to yourself, you know what, I'm stressed out right now, but I'm going to use this stress as fuel to overcome what I need to overcome, then that's going to have much less detrimental effects on your mindset and your health in general. So our third tip is to cultivate close relationships. So social connection has been shown to enhance your resilience to stress and help you recover from it quicker once you're experiencing it. So when we are in a stress state, there's a stress hormone called oxytocin that is released in the stress response that primes us to do things that strengthen close relationships. Oxytocin helps you calm down, but also motivates you to seek support from others. So your stress response actually wants you to seek close relationships and support because it knows it can help and protect you. There's so much research and so many studies that show the benefits of social connection and support. You know, it lowers your blood pressure, increases your quality of life, it reduces stress and anxiety, increases self-esteem. There's so many benefits to it. So cultivate those close relationships to reduce your overall stress and anxiety. So our next tip is to complete the stress cycle. You have to learn to complete the stress cycle for your health and well-being. So we're going to tell you how. So when you experience the stressor, which is the thing that activates the stress response, so as Yasmin said, it could be an internal stressor like self-criticism or worry, or it can be an external one like family conflict or some sort of argument with a colleague. What happens is your body reacts with a stress response. So this is where within a matter of seconds, your blood pressure increases, you breathe faster, you become more vigilant, your senses are heightened, your blood rushes to your larger muscle groups. And this is evolutionary, because back in the day, all this would happen because we would have to run away from a threat, a stress, like a tiger or a lion. So the blood would rush to our legs and our arms so we could run faster, we would breathe faster, we would get prepared to run away from that threat. And so our body is built this way. And what would happen is we would run away from that threat, and then hopefully would get to safety. And then your body would, after a while, it would go into the relaxation recovery phase, where it would start to rebalance all the hormones and get back into a normal state. It would deal with the stress, deal with all the chemicals, and it would get back to balance. Now, the problem is that in the way that our world is today, with our morals, our structures, our society, we have a stressor like a colleague shouting at us at work, or a boss shouting at us at work, or a family conflict, and we are not programmed to run away from that stress. So because we don't run away from that stress and exhaust ourselves through the running, we do not complete the stress cycle. So what happens is we have the stress, and then we go to the stress cycle, but we never go into the recovery and relaxation phase to get back to balance. So we create this cycle of stress and stress response, stress and stress response, and then all the stress and the chemicals just accumulate in our body. So what we need to do is we need to deliberately create a routine where we actually complete that stress cycle to get back into balance. So we're going to give you 3 ways that you can complete that stress cycle and rebalance your body, and so you don't cause further harm to your body and accumulate that stress. And the first best way is to do physical exercise, and this basically almost replicates what we would do back in the day. You know, we'd run and we'd move and we'd exhaust our bodies and get back into that recovery phase. So by doing physical exercise, you're basically replicating that, and that will help you to complete the stress cycle. The next way you can do this is through deep breathing. So like, you can do meditation or you can do breath work, but to just breathe really deeply and get loads of oxygen into your lungs, this will help you to also calm down and complete that stress cycle. And the third way is through positive interaction. So this is sort of connecting with family, connecting with loved ones, because that basically makes you feel safe. It's to tell your body and yourself that you're safe again, and that also helps you to complete the stress cycle. And these tools shouldn't just be used as a way to deal with the stress when you just have stress. It should be an accumulation. You want to build it into your routine. You know, you want to build physical exercise or breathing exercise and positive interaction into your routine. So any accumulated stress that you do have is dealt with in advance of even experiencing that stress. And then you're going to be helping your body out a lot more. If you're someone who consistently gets burnt out and run down, then this is something which is really important for you to use to manage that stress. Although you still need to deal with the practices and behaviors that you have in your life that are creating that burnout and that run down lifestyle. So you still need to get to the deep rooted cause of why you keep on getting burnt out, stressed and run down. And if you want to find out more about this, we do have a free masterclass which we'll link down below, called Burnout to Balance, which gives you some more practical tools in actually managing yourself to prevent that burnout and preventing all that stress. So check that out below. So our last tip is to make time for your hobbies and things that bring you joy, because these things can protect you from some of the stressful effects in other areas of your life. Now, for many of us, the last thing on our mind when we're stressed or overwhelmed is making time for a joyful activity or a hobby. And especially when the stress is due to, you know, your workload, and you just think you want to focus all your attention on your work and get it done. However, research has found that having a hobby that's outside your day-to-day activities or day-to-day work can actually expand your knowledge and help you find new ways of dealing with stress and anxiety, in turn leading to and building more resilience. Research has also found that little moments of joy help us recover from the psychological effects of stress. So find a way to fit in joy and hobbies into your day-to-day so you can protect and prevent yourself from stress and its harmful effects, because it will pay off. That's it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please like, share, subscribe and comment. And until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.